Hello world, James here from Ionic Systems, back with another video. In this video, I'll share with you my 5 steps for developing the website for iamicsystems.com. The purpose of this video is to show you how we can rapidly set up a clean yet versatile website that can be the face of your company, organization, or it can be the start to you sharing any content of your liking with the world. By the end of this video, you will have a detailed understanding of what I did to get my logo created, how I registered my domain name, how I set up my website and actually tied the domain name to it. You'll also have an understanding of how to do all of this within less than 15 minutes. This process is easy to understand and repeatable. If you would be so inclined, I would appreciate you to the moon and back if you would hit that like button and subscribe so you can be notified when we put out more content. Let's get into it. All right, so the website we stood up for iamicsystems.com is fairly simple. It's 5 pages. So we have our home page, which is here. We have an about page, which is here. Contact page, fairly simple. There's no forms established yet. It's just really simple. I didn't want to go too crazy because my goal was to focus on the business. So I wanted to make this as clean as possible. So starting with the first step, I got a logo made. As you can see, I got my own logo up here. I went to Fiverr. If you haven't heard, Fiverr is a website that you can hire freelance graphic designers. You can hire video editors. You can pretty much find anybody on Fiverr. And unlike the name says, not everything is $5. I think I paid $50 for my logo. What I did was I went and I found somebody with like 4.9 stars on Fiverr. I looked at all the reviews. I picked somebody in the United States because I didn't want to have the language barrier when communicating via email. So I found someone in the United States. They have 4.9 stars and they created logos, and their logos looked fairly good. So yeah, that's step 1. Like I said, my first step was to get a logo made. That took 48 hours. Yeah, 48 hours of back and forth, making revisions, me correcting a couple things. But yeah, 48 hours, I had my logo done. That's step 1. All right, so step 2 was to go ahead and get my domain name registered. If you don't have an account with GoDaddy, you can feel free to set one up, or any domain registrar of your choosing. I personally like GoDaddy because the CEO, I want to say his name was Bob Parsons. Former Marine. And being a Marine, I have an affinity for supporting Marine-owned businesses. I registered my domain name with GoDaddy. It's a fairly simple process. You search for the name of your company and hit enter. It'll go ahead and search, see if that name is available, and it'll show you exactly how much it costs. Are they the cheapest? No, but you really get some good customer service with GoDaddy. You get good support from them, and the interface is just easy to use. I'll leave it at that. So that's step 2. Register your domain name with GoDaddy or your domain registrar of choice. Moving on to step 3. Step 3, we're going to spend a little bit of time on because this is the meat and potatoes. And I'm going to actually walk you through step by step within this process to show you how we built out the website for iamicsystems.com. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to digitalocean.com. I'm gonna also drop the link for DigitalOcean in the description of this video. It is an affiliate link. If you use my affiliate link in the description, you'll get $100 free credit to use within like the first 60 or 90 days of service. It's a beautiful thing. Go ahead, head over to DigitalOcean and sign up. And then once you do that, we'll get started with the next step. So this step will require a little bit of technical understanding, or really you could just watch me step by step walk through it. It's so simple. Like if you've never worked on a command line, this process is going to be so simple. You'll see. So we're here. I'm logged into our DigitalOcean account and I'm going to create a new project for my website. I'll call it My New Website. Enter a description. It's optional, but we'll say this project is for my new site. Purpose, website or blog. I'm going to go ahead and create that project. On this screen, it's asking if you want to move some resources into this project. We're going to go ahead and hit skip for now. Once your project is created, we want to create what DigitalOcean calls a droplet. It's essentially a virtual private server. It's your own server that's going to host your blog or your website. It's called a droplet. I'm gonna go up to the top right-hand corner. I'm gonna hit create. I'm gonna select droplet. Wait for that to load. At the top menu, there's an option here that says marketplace. I'm going to select marketplace and I'm going to search for Ghost. I found it, Ghost on Ubuntu 20.04. I'm gonna select it, but let's go ahead and look at the details so you can see exactly what Ghost is. Description, it says Ghost is a fully open source, adaptable platform for building and running a modern blog or publication. The Ghost one-click app allows you to self-host your own Ghost instance up and running in 2 minutes. If you would like Ghost to manage your blog for you instead, the Ghost Pro plan starts at $9. So if you don't want to have your own server, you can go over to ghost.org and pay them $9 a month and they will host all of the back-end stuff for you. But if you're like me and you like to have a little bit of control over your website and your server and have the ability to make changes on the fly without having to consult with somebody, we're gonna continue with my process. We're gonna close out this description. I'm going to scroll down on my plan. We're gonna keep it basic for now because we are cheap and we don't wanna spend a lot of money to get this up and running. For CPU options, I'm gonna move this over to regular with SSD, that stands for solid state drive, $5 a month. That's what I wanna pay to host my server. Add block storage, we're not gonna worry about that for now until we get a little bit bigger and actually start housing a lot of data on our site. Right now, we just wanna get something up quick. Under where it says choose data center region, we're going to select exactly what region we want our website to be in. So for this, we're gonna select the region that's closest to yourself or your customers. For me, I'm operating in North Carolina, Eastern North Carolina. The closest thing to me here is New York. So I'm gonna select that New York data center. In future videos, I'll probably talk about redundancy and putting a server in New York and putting a server in San Francisco and then load balancing between them, or having an alternate path for users depending on where they're coming from. Outside of the scope of this, for now, we're just gonna keep it going. Leave VPC network as default. Authentication, SSH keys are a more secure form than using a password, but to keep the technical requirements to a minimal, we're gonna go ahead and select password for now. I'll do another video in the future that speaks on SSH keys, how to set those up and what they are and what they do. We'll do that in the future. For now, we're gonna go ahead and select password, create your password that you wanna use for this server. Make sure your password meets the minimal password requirements. Additional options, enable backups. I recommend it just in case. Scrolling down, we're gonna go ahead and finalize and create our droplet. We just wanna deploy one, so we're not gonna change that. The name, host name, I normally leave it to default. You can go ahead and change your host name if you want it to be named something more specific. Tags, you can tag your droplet. You can put a tag so it makes it easier to search for it later. I can say my test site, and then make sure that the project is selected that we created earlier. Create droplet. So it's gonna go ahead and create that droplet for me. Once this droplet is created, we'll have to go through the process to actually set it up, and I'll show you what that looks like here shortly. All right, so our droplet is stood up. We have the IP address for it, and we can also see instructions for setting it up by clicking on Get Started. So let's see, what does it say? You'll need a registered domain name to finish completing the Ghost setup. We recommend setting up an A record from the domain. A part of the step I mentioned previously is to point our domain name that we purchased earlier from GoDaddy or whatever domain registrar we chose. We have to point it to this IP address. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this IP address. I'm gonna go over to GoDaddy. I'm gonna sign in, and I'm gonna show you how we create an A record to point to that IP address. All right, so I'm logged into GoDaddy. Under the My Products tab, I'm gonna scroll down. Under domains, I have a couple domain names. You should see the domain name that you created earlier or that you purchased earlier. We're gonna go ahead and select it. For this instance, I'm gonna go ahead and use tech tips and how-tos because I'm not using it for anything else. I just like the name and decided to buy it. I'm gonna scroll down on this screen to manage DNS. Right now it says a record and it's currently parked. That means it's not going anywhere. Let's see. Welcome to Tech Tips and How-Tos. When your domain is parked, this is what people get. This is what we need to change. So you should see an A record. If you do not see an A record, you're gonna go ahead and add one. I'm gonna show you from scratch. I'm gonna delete this one. And then I'm gonna recreate it just so you can see it from scratch, just in case you don't have an A record associated with your DNS entries. Add. Under type, I'm gonna say A record. Name, I'm going to just say @ So the @ symbol signifies the root of your domain. So if your domain name is techtipsandhowtos.com, that @ symbol refers to that, techtipsandhowtos.com. If your website name is theyankeesarethebest.com, that @ symbol refers to yankeesarethebest.com. Now I'm going to paste the IP address of the server's location that we received from our DigitalOcean platform. I'm gonna paste that in there. Add record. Your DNS entry has been added successfully. Most DNS updates take effect within an hour, but could take up to 48 hours to update globally. All right, so we'll be back in a couple minutes after that entry replicates across our servers to make sure that we can browse to our website using the domain name that we specified. See you back in a minute. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and continue the configuration of our droplet that we created. So we're gonna do that by selecting our droplet. Go ahead and click on that. We're gonna go over to access on the left-hand side. We're going to go ahead and click this button here that says Launch Droplet Console. Once you select Launch Droplet Console, you'll be presented with a terminal window that looks like this. It's going to go through the DigitalOcean one-click ghost install. You're going to see some words scroll across the screen, and then it's going to give you instructions. It says your domain, add an A record. Here's the IP address. I showed you how to add an A record. It just takes some time to replicate across servers. Replicate meaning it takes some time for all of the servers to talk to one another and say, hey, I have an updated record. This is how you get to that new website. Takes a minute. Refresh Tech Tips and How-Tos. Oh yeah, it works now. Like I said, it just takes some time to propagate. So we can get to it. It says, please log into your droplet with SSH to configure the Ghost installation. So that's essentially what we are doing on our terminal window here. We're gonna go ahead and complete the installation. Right now, in the top hand corner of our screen, when we browse to it, you can see it's not secure, but I can get to the website. So in this installation, we're going to create a SSL certificate, which will secure communication to and from our site. That's a good thing. So following the instructions, like I said, is very self-explanatory. It tells you on the screen what to do. Press enter when you are ready to get started. Okay, I'm ready. Enter. It's gonna install some software packages and we'll wait for that to finish. After it's done installing those packages, it's going to ask you to enter your blog URL. So this is where we're going to enter the website that we created. It's going to set up your database in the back end. It's going to set up your web server. Now it says enter an email address. This is for administrative purposes only. It's used to update your certificate that's going to be used to secure your website. Enter. It's going to set up our SSL certificate using Let's Encrypt. Most of the time, your SSL certificates have a fee associated with it. Using Let's Encrypt, which is an open source SSL registrar, they do it for free. So you have the same security as modern SSL distributors, but you don't have to pay the cost. So it says Ghost was successfully installed. To complete setup of your publication, visit the website at this URL. We're gonna refresh this screen and look at that. We now have a lock. It's secured. We have a somewhat of a website. Now let's go ahead and log in or create our account for our site. So they tell us to browse to /ghost at the end of our website. I'm gonna put in a site title, my full name, email address, password, create account, and start publishing. And that's pretty much it. Like, you could start publishing content from here. The hard part is done. You could write your first post, customize your site, import members. This is if you have a list of users or members from another website that you want to bring in. We can explore the admin panel. So to manage the website, it's just your URL /ghost. It'll take you to the admin panel. And if you want to get straight into creating posts, you can do that here, new post. And it's very simple. New blog post. And then you just begin writing. You just type what you want to type. Like, you want to add an image, hit the plus button. You can add an image, you can add HTML, you can add a markdown language. You want to add a link to a YouTube video, you can do it there. All right, so this concludes the setup portion of our Ghost platform on DigitalOcean. So step 3 was to set up your website on a virtual private server using DigitalOcean and setting up that one-click application. I showed you that process. Step 4 that I identified in my 5-step process was to create that, or not to create, but to purchase a template or to utilize a different template. So hitting the little cog at the bottom of the home screen, going over to design, and then going down to change theme. Like I said, you can change the theme from Casper default to another theme that's located here for free. These are your free options. If you're cool with one of the free options, go for it. If you want something more fancy, we'll go down to the Ghost Marketplace and purchase one. All right, so let's do a recap. So in this video, I shared my 5 steps for standing up iamicsystems.com or a website similar to it. In this instance, we stood up a website for tech tips and how-tos. That 5-step process consisted of me getting a logo made using Fiverr. Step 2, I registered my domain name using GoDaddy. So we went to GoDaddy, we created an account, we found a domain name available that we wanted to use, we purchased it, and we went to the next step. Step 3 was setting up that virtual private server within DigitalOcean to host our website or our blog. We walked through the sub steps within that to create that website within DigitalOcean. And then we looked at how we could purchase a template or change our template that's currently being used within that Ghost platform. Step 5, as I mentioned previously, is just to begin posting and sharing content. Post and share, just like I'm doing now. Hopefully you found this information beneficial. I enjoyed sharing this information with you. Please go ahead and hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend if you think it'll be valuable for them. This is my way of standing up websites on the fly. There are a million different ways to do this, and I don't even want to belabor you with the midnight details that we can go into as it relates to standing up a website. I just think this is a really fast process that gives us a simple solution that looks clean and gives us the ability to maintain control of our infrastructure. If you want another video to show you how to do the same thing using the Ghost website, I can do that as well. Just let me know in the comment section down below. Have a wonderful evening, morning, day, whenever you're watching this, and tune back in for the next videos. I appreciate y'all. Y'all take it easy. Out.